So this next reflection is going to be on the theme of finding light in the dark. So I think when we think of Puja and think of it being, winter time and it's cold and it's dark and the days are short, Puja really is the epitome of finding light in the dark, of really leaning into kind of that darkness and finding the grace that lives in there. And I think when we think back on our lives and think about some of those, dark moments, that where the light is where we encounter God. So I'm thrilled to welcome Reverend James Hairston here. He is a wonderful friend to the Alumni Association. He is a vice president on the BC Alumni Association board. How long have you been on the board for?
3 years.
3 years. So he's a veteran on our Alumni Association board and a leader there. And he's also involved in the AHANA Alumni Advisory Council that's run through our Alumni Association. And so he's one of our go-to people, as Darcy put it. He's one of our go-to people and so graciously always answers the call to be here for our alumni. He is also now here for our students at BC in a very special way because he's a campus minister on campus and works with our multi-faith initiatives. And what else am I missing? Other things you do with the Alumni Association with students on campus?
The Veterans Network.
Oh, yes, wonderful. So our Veterans Alumni Network as well. So, great. And with that, I will pass it over to you.
Thank you very much, Betsy. Appreciate it. All right, so I know that I am your barrier between this and, I guess, dinner and your reflection, so I will not be long. It is a blessing and a privilege to be in front of you. Thank you for your kind remarks. As mentioned, I am a campus minister at Boston College. At the same time, I'm also a county prison prison chaplain. So I work at the county prison chaplain for about 2-3 years, but I've been affiliated with the prison for over 13 years. At the same time, I'm also an Army chaplain. I'm still currently serving in the Army through the Massachusetts National Guard. Just hit 11 years, so it's that 9-year slope that I just overcame and just got picked up for major, so I'm very, very blessed for that. Thank you. That means the Army wants to keep me. And that means the Army owns me for 20 years. They can't let me go, so they own me. So it's like my wedding ring now with the Army, so I'm very happy.
Does that mean we're supposed to salute you?
No, ma'am, you're quite all right. At the same time, I'm also wrapping up my doctoral studies as well in the Shoda House Episcopal Seminary over in Wisconsin. So I grew up Baptist, born and raised right in Dorchester, Dorchester native, Boston Public Schools, whole 9 yards. And I was actually baptized right before coming to Boston College. And it was just an interesting experience going through that. I was the age of 17 when that happened. When I came to BC is when I had a more thorough exposure to Catholicism, more or less in a sort of passerby sort of way. But they said roughly 70% of the students at BC at the time was Roman Catholic, so I would pass through Mass, see friends of mine who were there, different Jesuits who I felt connection to. I would go to their Mass and just kind of follow along, but not really. It was more or less standing up, sitting down when I saw everybody else stand up and sit down. Realized that when we do the Lord's Prayer, we do the entire thing. There's no pause and all that. I was so lost a couple of times. And actually, I got in contact with Anglicanism. I'm an Anglican priest now. I got in contact with Anglicanism while here at BC during my sophomore year, doing a class or independent study with the sociology department in the African Diaspora Studies department, where we went to an Episcopal church in Cambridge and to study its ethnic and cultural makeup and racial makeup of a church that's located in Cambridge. It was like, wow, there's only one white person in this entire congregation, and he's the deacon. And one African-American, and he's the priest. And everybody else was Afro-Caribbean who didn't live in Cambridge. So it's like, why? What's going on here? Why isn't there racial and cultural integration at this church? But it was a great experience for me to be able to see where the Protestant lens and the Catholic lens mesh within the Episcopal or Anglican tradition. After that, I debated Catholicism. I mean, it's hard for you not to debate Catholicism while you're here at BC. However, I remained Baptist. Went on to grad school, and the plan was for me to go to grad school and then go to law school. When I was here, my senior year, the plan for me was I'm going to go to the military, become a Marine. They were recruiting on campus. Let's do it. Next thing you know, I got talked out of it by every black administrator that I knew in the course of one day stopped me. What are you doing to go to Marines? You need to go teach. What are you doing going to Marines? You need to go teach. You need to mentor kids. You need to do this. You need to do that. And I just was like, wow, this is kind of weird that all these people keep stopping me and tell me I should do this. And then I actually had someone thoroughly explain to me why they believe that. It was the Vice President of Student Affairs at the time, Dr. Cheryl Presley. She pulled me aside and said, listen, I hear when you talk to students. I hear when you talk to your underclassmen. You educate them. You help them understand how BC works in a very tangible sort of way. That's why I believe you should go with education. And talking to a couple buddies of mine who were lawyers at the time, they told me that they did the exact same thing. They taught for a couple of years, then they went to law school. And I said, okay, fine, I'll do the same thing. Go teach for a couple of years or go to law school. So I did that. I taught for a couple of years in the city of Boston through Boston Public School System. And next thing you know, after I graduated, is when I really entered into what I would say would be my dark night. I was tired. I was depressed. I was broke. I spent, at the time, $100 to the LSDAS, who are the people who handle law school applications at the time. I think they're called like CAS or something like that. They changed their name now. But effectively, that's who you pay, who handles all your law school applications. So I did that. I thought I would be ready to go. I was excited. All right, I graduated. Now I was on to law school. But then I just felt immense depression that this is not what I'm supposed to be doing. I was incredibly sad, despite the fact that I just clicked send on the payment. My account was like $3 in my bank account. I was sitting in an apartment that I was behind on rent. My fridge was empty, and I was just incredibly sad, to the point where I'm pretty sure I cried. It was a little while ago. And I was just like, what's happening with me? What's happening in my life? I should be excited at this moment. I should be very excited that I hit this benchmark. I mean, I've been building up to this. When I was at BC, I did the internships at the different law firms. I built my network. I did what I was supposed to do. I got the best internship through the political science department. Because in the political science department, you have an internship seminar. And most folks got the internships at the State House with some local rep. I got mine at Boston 2004, which was the host committee for the Democratic Convention. That was a huge deal. I mean, I got the top internship. Whereas everyone else is working for, State Rep Joe Blow, I'm working with the folks who are putting together the Democratic National Convention here in Boston. So, I mean, and I got offered a job immediately with Tom Riley's office. It was just, I was off to the races. And I knew if I played my cards right, I could end up in D.C. So I should be happy at this moment. I go into law school and I'll be able to have all my cards and my decks stacked up. And I was just sad. And I didn't know what it was. And as I just reflected and prayed and, of course, getting angry, asking God, why? Why am I not happy? Why am I angry? Why am I sad? And then I remembered, or it came upon me, that I was called to the cleric, to the clergy, to the priesthood since the age of 12. And when it finally dawned on me, or rather, God's still small voice said, you know what I want you to do, is when I felt happiness. I stopped stressing out. I threw out all my law school applications, went to bed that night. Of course, my bank account was still like $5. I still had no food. I still had no food in the fridge, but it was a better sense of calm that I had because I knew I finally accepted God's call. Next morning, I wake up, immediately start looking at different seminaries. I first started looking at online seminaries because they were free. And I figured, let me do an online unaccredited seminary that's free because if I do that, then I'll be able to afford to go because I don't have money. But as I continued to pray and realize that God said, you know what? I have this set out for you. Just listen to me and I'll guide this. Just shut up and listen. So I applied to one school, got one scholarship to that one school. The school was actually up the street from Boston College and was able to go through seminary. And it's been off to the races ever since. Despite the fact that personally I was broke with no money, God provided that way. So the question is, what is the dark night of the soul? Dictionary.com defines the dark night of the soul as a period of spiritual desolation suffered by a mystic in which all sense of consolation is removed. This definition is most likely due to the term being popularized by Spanish mystic John of the Cross in his poem, The Dark Night of the Soul. Originally, the poem which is untitled, but as time went on, theologians called it a dark night of the soul, in which John the Cross chronicles spiritual journey, or the journey of spiritual union with God, and a portion of his spiritual journey where he feels utterly separated from God. It highlights this understanding that one must be separated in order to grow closer. And the separation could last a season, or in the case of St. Paul the Cross, it lasted 45 years. I don't understand this concept of noche oscura, or the dark night. I just thought I was feeling this lack of purpose at the time. I just rationalized that I was unhappy because of my current station. That it was, you know what, you're upset because you set all these things up and you don't feel passionate about it anymore. So I just wrote it off as that. You lost passion, you didn't want it, and that was pretty much about it. However, it wasn't the case. It was much more than that. I genuinely felt a separation from God. And I didn't realize that until I went to seminary. And I started reading the stories of other theologians, other clergy, other lay people who've had similar experiences of feeling separated from God. That's why I cried. That's why I felt so empty. It wasn't that I just invested all this time and energies, because I felt as if I cross this bridge, I can never go back. If I cross this bridge into law school, I can never go back. One of the individuals I read about was C.S. Lewis. I would say he's one of our Anglican guys that we uphold. I love y'all Catholics, but we ain't trying to have y'all steal all of our people. Y'all got Newman from us. We're trying to hold on to Lewis. But C.S. Lewis chronicles in his work, Surprised by Joy, where he met his wife, Joy Gresham, when he was in his 50s. So it was one of those late found love sort of situations, and God bless him, he found love. However, Joy passed away. And when Joy passed away, of course, Lewis became incredibly depressed. And he states in vivid detail, it's kind of a long passage. And I quote, "Feelings and feelings and feelings. Let me try thinking instead. From the rational point of view, what new factor has H's death introduced into the problem of the universe?" A side note, Lewis wrote in a pseudonym, so he didn't use C.S. Lewis. He had his own pseudonym, and he referred to his wife Joy as H. Really don't know why. Maybe because H-I-J went back 2 letters. Maybe that's why he did it, but he refers to her as H. "What grounds has this given for me for doubting all that I believe? I already knew that all these things happen daily. I would have said that I've taken them into account. I have been warned. I had warned myself not to reckon on worldly happiness. We were even promised sufferings. They were a part of the program. We were even told, 'Blessed are they that mourned,' and I accepted it. I've got nothing that I hadn't bargained for. Of course, it is different when the things happens to oneself and not to others, and in reality and not in imagination. Yes, but should it, for a sane man, make quite such a difference as this? No, and it wouldn't for a man whose faith had been real faith and whose concern for other people's sorrows had been a real concern. The case is too plain. If my house has collapsed at one blow, it is because it was a house of cards. The faith which took these things into account was not faith, but imagination. The taking them into account was not real sympathy. If I had really cared as I thought I did about the sorrows of the world, I should not have been overwhelmed when my own sorrow came. I thought I trusted the rope until it mattered to me whether or not it would bear me. Now it matters, and I find that I didn't. Bridge players tell me that there must be some money in the game or else people won't take it seriously. Apparently, it's like that. Your bid, for God or no God, for a good God or cosmic sadist, for eternal life or non-eternity, will not be serious if nothing much was staked on it. And you will never discover how serious it was until the stakes are raised horribly high. Until you find that you were not playing for counters or sixpences, but for every penny you have in the world. Nothing less will shake a man